Hello guys, and I hope you're well. Today we're checking out some more Entitled Parents. If you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe button, maybe even join us on Discord. Now let's jump straight into it. ED tries to take my game and gets literal shit. Besides an encounter 30 years ago with a mum who thought the sun shined out of her kid's ass, I hadn't experienced any of these crazy people. That changed about 2 hours ago. Some important and relevant backstory first. 18 months ago I was diagnosed with colon cancer. It wasn't long before I had to have surgery to remove the tumour. It was an 18-hour surgery. They removed about a foot of my large colon and 18 lymph nodes. I woke up in ICU. When I finally looked down, I had a long scar running down the centre of my body. It starts just below my chest, runs past my belly button to just above my pubes. I also have a reversible colostomy. It's important to understand that I have what's called an appliance stuck to the side of my torso that collects my poop. I have to then empty the bag instead of pooping. I also have to change the whole appliance every 4 days. I will soon be able to have my own colon put back together and no longer deal with this thing. Anyway, this morning I was at one of those large office buildings next to a hospital. I was waiting to see my surgeon to discuss when was going to reconnect my colon. This place has one of those enormous waiting rooms for multiple doctors. I know there's going to be a long wait as my surgeon is very much in demand. So I bought my Nintendo Switch. I was sitting playing my game for a few minutes when ED and EK sit next to me. I hear the kid say, "Wow dad, look, that guy has a Switch." He says, "Yeah, I see." I'm very outgoing and love to talk. So I asked the father if he minds to play a few games with his son. The father at this point seemed perfectly normal and says, "Yeah, no problem." The kid looked to be around 10 or 11. I'm in my mid-30s, but have been a lifelong gamer. I also have 7 nieces and nephews, so I play games with kids his age all the time. I placed the Switch on the side table near us and hand the kid one of the Joy-Cons. We played a couple of races before he asked what else I had. I brought out Smash Bros Ultimate and the kid was jumping up and down. We played Smash for nearly an hour before I heard my name called. I raised my hand and said, "Here," so the nurse saw me and I quickly grabbed my Joy-Con from his hands and packed the Switch away in my backpack and began walking towards the nurse. Just as I make it to the nurse, I feel someone tap my shoulder. ED says, "Hey man, can you let my son play your Switch while you're in with the doctor?" "Sorry man, I had a blast playing with him, but who knows if you'll be here when I get back," I responded. "So? You're a goddamn adult. Why do you need it anyway?" I was astounded, so I turned to follow the nurse who was holding the door open for me. It's important to note that during the hour I was playing with the kid, my ostomy became active and started filling. At this point it was more than half full. I'm wearing a t-shirt so you can see the outline of it when it happens. Just to give you context, a few weeks ago a police officer thought I was carrying a gun under my shirt because of this, so it looks like there is something large in my front pocket. The ED says, "You fat fuck, you're going to give my son the game or else." The nurse finally says, "Sir, please leave this man alone." I appreciate the attempt, but it sounded rather weak. The guy was about 6'4" and looked like a weightlifter, so I guess he was used to intimidating other people. As he alluded to, I am a large guy. I'm about 6'2" and I'm overweight, so I'm used to not being intimidated. I responded with, "Not gonna happen." He decided to make it physical. I was only half facing him, so he grabbed my shoulder and spun me around to face him, and with his other hand he started trying to get under my shirt. He's yelling, give me it, you fat fuck." He eventually gets a hold of my appliance and pulls it as hard as he can. I don't know how he thought it was a game because it's soft. I screamed in pain because the adhesives that hold the thing on are strong. He actually managed to rip some of my skin off. The bag is perfectly sealed while it's attached to me, but as he pulled it towards himself, a bunch of poop came flying out all over his shirt, pants and shoes. When he pulled it, he turned it upside down while trying to cup it in his grasp, and he began to turn to run away. He realised something was wrong halfway through his turn. I got a little bit on my shirt, but the bleeding was the problem. The nurse led me quickly back into a room, and I had my surgeon in the room in a matter of seconds making sure I was okay. I keep a spare appliance in my bag, so I was back in business in no time. I washed my shirt out in the sink, only a very small part got any on it, and it was very easy to clean with soap and water. It got me home at least. I later found out that the man just stood there for a while, stunned. The front desk people were laughing when they told me this. They said he seemed completely shocked that it wasn't a game. Apparently he dropped the appliance and yelled for his son and tried to leave. Security caught him up pretty quick and he was arrested. I have to go to make a statement tomorrow. To see the guy when he gets covered in shit must have been amazing. And I read some of the other guy's comments whilst on Reddit and he was saying he's pretty open about it, so I imagine he's okay with me having a little chuckle at this guy's expense, but it must be horrible for that guy, you know. He said he wasn't embarrassed, but God, fair play to him. EM doesn't know how emergency rooms work. I'm deathly allergic to peanuts. Even touching something that had peanut oil on it can cause a potentially deadly reaction. It was my first semester in university. I lived in the dorm and had just a little communal kitchen and was washing up. I realised I needed a towel to dry the dishes and ran back to my room. When I came back, I continued to wash my dishes and came up with a knife that wasn't mine with peanut butter on it. I looked around and said, "Who did this?" Another girl says it's hers, and what's the big deal? And like that, I'm off to ER for the first time without my parents. Fortunately, there isn't anything to do in a small Texas town, and we find someone with a car pretty fast. Don't ask me why we didn't call 911. It just didn't occur to us. My parents always took me to ER in their car. We get there and there's this woman and a kid in the waiting area. I go up to the triage desk and explain what happened and give the nurse my emergency card. Has all my info, medical history, parents' contact info, my cousins who live in the nearby town contact info. Of course, the nurse rushes me to the back, slaps on an O2 monitor and an O2 mask while yelling for the doctor. He asks me a couple of questions and starts pretty standard treatment, while arguing one point I can't take a certain OTC medication. The woman from the waiting area starts showing her EM traits. She starts screaming at the triage nurse that they were there first, and I will just have to wait until her EK has been treated. According to what my friends tell me later, she tried to storm into the treatment area. The doctor walks out of the curtain. I've been given the EPI. He started breathing treatment, put on a heart monitor and stuff. He bellows, "Your kid stuck beans up his nose." No, this wasn't a toddler. This kid must have been 2nd or 3rd grade. "We could have had him out of here an hour ago, but you insisted on Dr. So-and-so coming in. The ER isn't going to close down, and wait until he gets here. Go sit down." Later, while I was in a kind of loopy stage, an ambulance brought in a pregnant woman who had been in a car crash. Apparently EM got mad about her cutting in line, also, according to my friends. She also accused them of making it all up so your friend can get drugs. Other than being able to keep breathing, why would someone want to take an EPI or other meds? I just don't like the side effects. I don't know how many Brits are on this channel, but we get that sort of shit all the time in the UK. We got like NHS, so it's sort of like all paid for. You don't have to pay for your medication and stuff. Well, some of your medication you do, but you don't have to pay for your treatments in hospital. We get people that just will bitch if you get put in front of them. If you're a priority, they will bitch about it. Child wants to play with my heart monitor. I prefer to lurk and read on Reddit rather than post, but I do have something to contribute to this sub. It's not super dramatic or climatic or anything, and I'm not going to embellish, exaggerate or fabricate anything just to make it more interesting. But anyhow, here's my experience with a stranger, EM, who I'd seen around before, and a small child who's probably around 5 or 6 years old. So I have a heart condition, and my cardiologist frequently has me wear a heart Holter monitor, which is a type of heart monitor that you wear for a certain amount of time. My cardiologist usually does 48 hours for me, and it's basically a constant EKG. I get them every several months or so to keep tabs on my rhythm disorder. You cannot take the monitor off during the time you're supposed to have it, so you can't shower while you're wearing it, which is annoying. If you remove any of the leads, it messes up the EKG results. Whenever I'm wearing one of these, I dress accordingly to hide it, high neck, etc. This was a summer day. I was wearing a shirt that I thought covered the leads well. Unfortunately, my bag kept putting the left edge of my neckline down lower, and I was constantly tugging it back up. I was at a pharmacy to pick up a few things. There was a mother and a young son in store. The child was acting bored and impatient while her mother shopped. I ended up in the same aisle as them momentarily. I leaned down to grab something off a low shelf, and gravity pulled my bag downwards and slid my neckline down with it. Before I had the chance to pull it back up, the little boy noticed and approached me. I smiled and said hi to him. I never want to be rude to people, especially children, so I obliged with any conversation that may start. "What's that thing on you?" "Oh, it's a little machine that checks my heart." "Why?" "My heart is sick, so my doctor wants to make sure I'm okay." "Can I touch it?" You can look, but please no touching." The mother turns and comes over. What's the harm in him touching it? He's just curious. I don't want to stifle his curiosity, I just don't want my monitor reading to get messed up and give me false results. It's very important that the leads stay on. Is it glued to you? Look, it's glued. It's not going to come off, just let him check it out. He's never seen one before. Go on honey, take a look at her cool gizmo. Yes, that's the word she used. Me uncomfortable. Well, it's not actually glued and it could accidentally get pulled off. I guess you can touch it if you're really careful. Please don't take the stickies off. EC starts investigating for a moment. He luckily was very careful as I told him to be. I thanked him for that and said, good job being careful. Now Ian comes over and starts investigating it. She asked me a bunch of questions about it, like whether I had a hole in my heart and things of that nature. She takes notice of the little monitor box that I've tucked in my pocket, which EC then starts trying to take out of my pocket. He accidentally drops it and it falls, pulling hard on the wires. I gasped and grabbed it, hoping that none of the leads came loose or anything. Luckily none did. I told them I had to go and got away from them. I thought it was pretty rude that the mum insisted on letting a young child mess with somebody's medical device. Maybe I should have been more vocal about why, and I should have been more assertive. But I'm one of those people who just can't say no to anybody, and honestly tend to let people walk all over me. I'm lucky my monitor didn't come off, and I'm very glad that the interaction wasn't dramatic. It could have been worse. Oh my god! What is wrong with these people? Anyway guys, I really appreciate the time of your day that you take to watch these videos. It really means the world to me, so thank you so much. Take care now. Goodbye.